Alright, hey guys, Scott here again with a brand new video, and so for this one, we're going to dive into the major issue or flaw with the IV rank indicator, which is a very common and useful indicator for options traders. I myself use it all the time, but because of the issue you're going to see in this video, that's why, in my opinion, if you are going to use IV rank, you should also use it with IV percentile as well. Now that being said, the problem with IV rank is not a major concern. It's more of an edge case basically, but still, just to make sure you don't miss out on potential good option selling opportunities. That's why, again, you're going to see here why you should also use IV rank with IV percentile. Now briefly though, before we dive in here, if you guys want to receive up to 13 free stocks where each stock could be worth up to $2,000, then make sure you watch until the end of the video. And also here, if you want to join a very exclusive online community where you can learn how to trade options and my overall approach to the markets, then you can now join my options trading Discord as well. So definitely check out the video description below to learn a lot more about that. And then lastly here, for anybody who is also brand new to the channel, again, my name is Scott, and you can also find me on SKILLSHARE as well, where you can take my very detailed classes on options trading or stock market investing. And you will also find some links to a few of my introductory courses in the description of this video as well. So be sure to check them out, and when you join Skillshare using those links, you'll get a full 1 month free trial. Alright guys, so now we'll dive in here, and so for this video, the stock I'll be using to illustrate my examples is going to be AMC. No particular reason. This issue with IV rank does not just pertain to meme stocks. It could apply to any kind of stock, but AMC right now at least is a perfect example of this issue with IV rank. And so if we come down below here and let me expand this chart up, so this chart is showing you the implied volatility for AMC over the past 1 year here. And then on the top left corner, as you can see in thinkorswim, we have both the IV rank and IV percentile indicators. And right now, as you can see, they're both showing pretty different numbers. Now, of course, in most cases, this is to be expected because these are using different calculations to basically assess how high or low the current implied volatility is right now for AMC. But still, in most cases, you would expect that these two numbers should be roughly the same or pretty similar. And so the issue with IV rank here has to do with its actual calculations. So in particular for IV rank, what it does is it compares the current implied volatility, which for AMC right now is 141%. And it compares this number to the previous 1 year high for the implied volatility of the stock and also to the 1 year low. So therefore, looking at this chart here, it's pretty obvious that the lowest point of AMC's implied volatility in this past 1 year was either at this point or maybe also at this point. And then the highest point the implied volatility has gotten to is clearly this point right here, where for some reason it expanded dramatically up to about 250%. And so, like I said, IV rank compares the current IV way down here with the high and the low of the past 1 year. And specifically, this IV rank indicator is always a number between 0 and 100%, where a value close to 0 means that the current implied volatility is very close or perhaps below the previous 1 year low of implied volatility. And then conversely, an IV rank indicator or value close to 100% would mean, again, the current implied volatility is close to or perhaps above the highest point of implied volatility in the past 1 year. So bottom line, an IV rank value of 24% right now means the current implied volatility is pretty close to the lowest point it's been in the past 1 year. And you can definitely also confirm that just by visually looking at this chart as well, right? Again, here's the current implied volatility at 142%. And yes, indeed, it's definitely much closer to the lowest point in the past year than the highest point in the past year. So ultimately here, depending on whether you are an option buyer or an option seller, you want to use IV rank ideally to help you identify when certain situations arise that are best for option buying or option selling. Right? So for example, if you want to buy an option, then ideally it's best to do that when implied volatility is very low and therefore the options are cheap. So in regards to IV rank, if the IV rank is very low, that's a good possible setup to buy options. And then conversely, if you want to sell options, then it makes the most sense to wait for implied volatility to be very high, and therefore the option prices would also be very expensive. So once again, in regards to IV rank, it would be ideal to wait for this indicator to get to a pretty high value. Maybe an IV rank of 70%, 80%, those kinds of values would be ideal for option selling strategies. But that being said though, if you do ever see a very, very large spike in implied volatility just like this, well, these kinds of events are going to significantly skew the IV rank indicator, right? Because as you can see here, in the past 1 year, the implied volatility for AMC has gotten nowhere close to 250% except for this one time. And ultimately, because this here is always going to be a reference point for IV rank as the highest point of implied volatility in the past 12 months, then unless the implied volatility for AMC gets back up to somewhere near this point again, which is very, very unlikely, these kinds of things almost never happen, then as a result, the IV rank indicator is always going to be very, very low, right? Because regardless of where the implied volatility fluctuates in the future, it's probably always going to be much closer to the 1 year low than the 1 year high. So let's say, for example, the implied volatility for AMC spikes once again, maybe up to 190%, which it has done so 3 times in the past. Well, at such a point, that would be a great opportunity to sell some options on AMC, right? Because even at this point, the options on AMC are going to be very, very expensive. And also, there's a pretty good chance you're going to see a contraction of the implied volatility thereafter. And that's also going to be a good thing for you as an option seller, right? But ultimately, because of this huge spike in the implied volatility, then even if the IV got to this point once again, the IV rank indicator would still probably be pretty darn low. And therefore, if you only looked at IV rank, you might pass on that opportunity. However, even though IV rank might still be pretty low, the IV percentile indicator would definitely be very, very high, right? Because unlike IV rank, which only compares the current IV to 2 data points in the past 1 year, IV percentile compares the current IV to all data points, all days in the past 1 year, right? So specifically right now, the current implied volatility for AMC is greater than 58% of all previous days in the past 12 months, right? So also, as you can see on the chart, it's pretty much right in the middle of this 1 year range, of course, with the exception of this one massive spike. So ultimately, in this case, the IV percentile is a much more accurate measure of where the current implied volatility actually is right now, pretty much right in between. Whereas IV rank would tell you, no, it's actually much, much towards the lower end of the range. So bottom line here, guys, if you do want to use the IV rank indicator, which is totally fine, right? Like I said, these massive spikes in implied volatility are very rare. They almost never happen. But still, because they can happen, that's why in some cases like this, the IV rank indicator will get skewed and become less accurate. So ultimately, that's why I think it's always best to use IV rank alongside IV percentile as well. So therefore, if the two measurements are very different from each other, that's going to be your first major clue that probably in the past there was a massive spike in the implied volatility, and that's causing the IV rank indicator to be inaccurate. And then, of course, there's always the option of simply not using IV rank anymore and only using IV percentile, because no matter what happens in the past with the implied volatility, the IV percentile indicator should always be accurate. And that's again because it compares the current IV to all of the previous days in the past 12 months, not just 2 specific points. And so with that being said here, that's going to do it for this video. But of course, one last thing, as I mentioned, I've got a very cool opportunity for you guys where you can receive up to 13 free stocks. So basically, there is a newer brokerage company out there called Moomoo, which is based in Palo Alto, California. And again, for a limited time, they're offering you the opportunity to receive up to 13 free stocks when you open a brokerage account with them using my specific link in the description of this video. And so the Moomoo trading platform is highly competitive with other comparable platforms like Webull and Robinhood. There are absolutely no trading fees on stock or option trades. You also get direct trading access to US, Hong Kong, and Chinese markets, which is something I have not seen being offered by competing platforms. Moomoo also comes with a free, very advanced, yet totally user-friendly trading platform that you can install on your computer or your smartphone. And of course, everything is regulated by the SEC and FINRA, so your trades and your investments are properly insured. And so if that sounds good to you, then again, use my link in the description of this video below to sign up and get your free stocks. And also don't forget to check out and join my options trading Discord as well as my Skillshare courses. Links also in the video description. And finally here, if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up, drop a comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I drop new videos every single week and you don't want to miss out. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.